Thank you, Professor. His Excellency Kobina Ade Coker, Honorary Consul for the Republic of Belarus in Ghana, also the Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, the regional chairman of the party, the ruling party in Accra, in Ghana. And I wear a lot of hats. First being a politician and a businessman. And I'm in charge of 34 constituencies in the Greater Accra region, and also in charge of party activities and everything that concerns the party in the region. I'm the one who superintends over it. I've been in this position for the past 4 years, and I'm going for a re-election somewhere in September, which I hope my people will see the good things that I've done to return me back to the position. I'm also a member of the National Executive Committee of the party. That's the highest body of the party. I'm also a member of that, the NEC. So that is the person you are talking to this morning.
Well, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just a little curious, though. You said you are elected and you served for 4 years.
That's right.
Who elects you?
The delegates are made up of 10 delegates from each constituency. So we have about 34 constituencies. And then the district and municipal executives, members, and then all prominent NDC members in the region. So we have an electorate of about 500 delegates who goes to a conference, the delegate conference, and then the regional executives are elected. But first, we have to have a branch election where the delegates from the branch then go to elect constituency executives. And out of the constituency executives, that is where the delegates come from to come and elect the regional executives. And from the region, we also then go to the national to elect national executives.
And so you stand for election every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
But does the delegates get together on an annual basis or other matters of governance?
Yeah, I mean, the delegates within the region, we have executive meetings. Occasionally, we have constituent-wide meetings where we brainstorm to find out what is going on in the country, explain to them government policies, and a whole host of things, address their needs. You know, in a political party, people go there with different ambitions, different aims, different objectives. Being a social democratic party, we need to take care of the vulnerable. And most of our supporters are the people from, you would call them the lower class sectors of the country. So predominantly, they always have problems. Schools, housing, sanitation, work, employment. It's a whole host of things that we get ourselves involved with. It's a very tedious job. It's not easy at all.
Well, it sounds that way, Mr. Chairman. I wonder, could you tell me how your job interrelates to the national party, the NDC?
It's very important. If the people in the grassroots are not feeling good, it translates to the system. And we have to alert the presidency, we have to alert the national executive that, look, we've got problems. Because without them being satisfied with the economic conditions, naturally, when we go for elections, we'll be rejected. So very important that at any given time, the policies that we have to pursue will inure to their benefit. So being the regional chairman, I articulate their problems, and then occasionally we meet the presidents and the national party to let them know what is going on. And from there, policies are formulated or actions are taken to ensure that we get things right. I should be able to inform him of what is actually on the ground, and I do that constantly. And I mean, it's not easy, right? Because all the problems cannot be solved at a go, but efforts must be made. Only yesterday, I had a meeting with core executives of the constituencies, and I wish you were there. If you had told me earlier on, I would have invited you to one of these meetings, and you'll have observed what we go through, because people have got expectations. And the expectations are so high that we have to meet, otherwise we have a problem on our hands, yes.
Are there positions that are elected in your district outside of the national elections? Are there by-elections during the 4-year period that you're serving?
Within the executives, no. But if there's a parliamentary by-election, naturally, we take part. Actually, regarding all the political activities, being the election of a parliamentarian, election of an MMC, that's a metropolitan authority. So all the political activities within the region is in my purview. I represent every political activity. Without me, it cannot go anywhere.
So my point, is, Chairman, is this. If the party doesn't really have to wait 4 years to get feedback from the people about how you're doing, so could you talk about how that information is conveyed to you, not only by the individual petition from individuals who come to your office, but what about in terms of these by-elections? No,
the by-elections are necessary when the parliamentarian is demised. That becomes a national thing. But every region, because we've got so far we've got about 22 parliamentarians. So, and the other side I've got about, I think, 14 or so. So, when there's a by-election, it takes a national...
It's a national election.
National election,
What if someone leaves office in the middle of, let's say, either through resigning or death? Do you hold an election? Or
within the party, we appoint, because we appoint. No, during the interim, we appoint. We don't go for an election. Yes, we appoint.
Could you give me a differentiation between the powers of the central government, the national government, and local governments?
Local government takes care of local activities. You know, there's something called decentralization, and local government has to interpret national policy. For instance, sanitation. The whole country is engulfed in a sanitation problem. Then you have to localize it. So the local government that is made up of the district assemblies, and then the municipal authorities, they handle those issues. And these are supposed to be grassroots problems, right? Like street naming, street lights, collecting the garbage, you know, making sure rates are paid, making sure that the crime situation in the region is curtailed, is taken care of. So national policy, we are talking about overall national objective, the overall national housing policy, national road infrastructure development. Those are different from local government takes care of local matters, just like any other government in the other parts of the world. I'm sure when you go to Detroit, I mean, the city of Detroit has got its own peculiar local problem that it deals with, and within the whole country, every region has got its own peculiar local problem that the local authority has to, because if you can't wait for central government to always come down to look at things that can be handled locally.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before we leave this distinction between the local and the national government, could you describe to me a typical day of yours in governing and in conducting your affairs here?
It's on a given day. My day starts around 7 o'clock when the phone call starts coming in. Sometimes I have to appear on the radio stations or TV stations. On Mondays, I have a program early in the morning reviewing the news headlines. We need to set the agenda. You don't have to leave the agenda for the opposition to set it. So we are forced to come and set the government agenda to make the people aware what is going on. Otherwise, there will be a vacuum. And when there's a vacuum, you have a problem. Somebody occupies it, and the party is in trouble. Then I have to go to the regional office, that's my office, to find out what correspondence has come in, look through and give instructions to my secretary. And then I come to my office, have a banter in my office, and then sometimes I'm also the board chairman of Ghana Export Promotion Council.
If you could think a little broadly about the nation, the region, West Africa, Southern Africa, the whole continent of Africa, what's your assessment of the progress of democracy in Africa today?
I think you have to go back to history. for the past 30 years or so, Africa has been in turmoil with coups, insurrections, wars, and that kind of thing. I mean, from north to south, east to west. You come closer to Ghana, Ivory Coast is in turmoil. Burkina Faso hasn't seen something called democracy. You go to Togo, the same thing. Our nearest neighbor, that is further apart, Nigeria, they have got some semblance of democracy. You come to Central Africa, there's nothing good to write home about. You go to North Africa, you've got the discontent there where there's a lot of, Egypt is in turmoil. Egypt used to be a good democracy, it's in turmoil. Tunisia, Morocco is a bit stable. You come to East Africa, well, I would say that Kenya has gone through some turmoil and now is stabilizing. And only South Africa, you could say, has been a beacon of democracy for a very long time, starting from the release of Mandela up to now. You go to Zimbabwe, our grand old father. I like his politics though. I like his politics though. He's been there and he's still going strong. I don't know how old is he, but he says he wants to go for another 10 years. So I think we'll bury him with the presidency. So Africa, and it has dawned on us now, this continent can only develop if there's stability, if there's democracy. And I think a few of the countries are trying very hard to be democratic, but we've got a long way to go. And the poverty, the destruction is all based on us not. We want to practice the Western type of democracy, but sometimes there's a difficulty because of our local what do you call it, beliefs. It makes it difficult for people to appreciate. Sometimes one-party democracy probably is better, depending on where you are coming from. But the West believes that we should all be a multi-party democracy, and that is where the problem comes from, you see. And we are here to appreciate what multi-party democracy means. It means that the concept of if I am not in power, I'll make sure that you don't succeed, is the bane of our problems in Africa. That people should appreciate that. Look, if Professor Reed is the president, he cannot be there forever. It will come a time that the good people of his country will decide, look, we've had enough of you. So when elections are over, it is necessary that everybody comes together to move the country forward, the nation forward. But in most African countries, no. I'm going to sit at the bench and make sure that whatever that government is in power is trying to do, I will derail it. And that epitomizes the kind of democracy that we in Africa are practicing. It takes a long time. It will take a long time for us to understand what we should do. And I think that is what is our problem now. So Africa needs stability, needs democracy, but how are we going to function the democracy to fit the tradition of the people within a particular area?
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned something which I'm glad you touched on it, and that is the West as the model of how democracy must be in Africa.
That's right.
Two questions. One, do Africans resent that? And two, do we have it so right that ours is the only way to do democracy?
You see, yours have been there for 100 years plus. Look at the American democracy, look at the British democracy. It's been there. You see, if you look at the African community, when we had this chieftaincy, monarchy, or what I call it, here we call them chiefs. You know, you go to a place like the Ashanti region. If you take their traditional setup, you have the Asantehene, right? He commands everything. You will never find any Ashanti insulting the Asantehene. You'll be dealt with immediately. You see, the Asantehenes has a lot of people around him, and they dispense justice the traditional way, and we will come to accept it. Probably if you elevate that to the national level, probably we will succeed. Right. But the Western democracy means that it becomes competitive and combative. Right. So I'm sure you were around during the election time, and in Ghana you could hear the war drums that were being beaten. Right. So it is only that the good people of Ghana believe that we are not ready to have wars between ourselves. Right. But in other nations, you have the tribal factor. It becomes combative, because if you have a situation where one tribe feels is superior than the other tribe, and that they feel that they must be the ruling class all the time, they have a problem. So that if their class is not winning an election, it means that he's not going to accept the other side whom he believes is superior to. So that's where the combativeness comes. That is where the fight starts, and that is where we find ourselves in the Western democracy. In the Western democracy, I don't think you've got tribes. You don't have tribes. So it's very good for them. I mean, in America, Obama has been accepted because that has transcended over so many years, that the system has come to accept that once you're an American, you're an American. Whether you are African American, whether you are Hispanic American, whether you're an American. So regardless of that, when you come, the whole system accepts you. It's taken them a long time to reach that stage. We need to accept that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what tribe you come from. Once you're Ghanaian, you're Ghanaian.
So you think tribalism is still a strong orienting force in people in politics in Africa?
In Africa, definitely. Definitely, because of this superiority, believing that one tribe is superior than the other.
Mr. Chairman, if you look across the continent, however, in every one of the 53 or 54 states of Africa, there's some form of an election.
That's right.
We wouldn't argue that every one of them is democracy, but there's
right.
some form of election.
That's right, yeah.
How does the continent now, with the presence of ECOWAS and SADC and AU, begin to harmonize that so that you can accelerate the movement of states toward democracy?
It depends how the AU or the ECOWAS, how strong they are. It depends on those who are members of the ECOWAS or AU group. Are they coming from a democratic background? You understand? If they are not coming from a democratic background, how are they going to help you to achieve what you want to achieve? Because he believes that he's an autocrat, and he believes that people are not enlightened. Why do you have to open the space for people to come in? Right? So it depends on gradually all of us accepting, as for instance, Ghana is doing. Ghana is the black star or the lone star or whatever that other countries look to, because for the past 20 years we've been able, with all the difficulties, to practice democracy. That's right. So it become a reference point, right? So, and then somebody must champion that cause. It must be a strong president. You must be able, when you meet your peers, to impress upon them without democracy, without the Western democracy, and without accepting that whoever wins has got the mandate of the people, and that we should all come and support that person, then it will be an act in futility.
Do you think you'll see the day in Africa where strong countries like Ghana, strong democracy, and South Africa, strong economic force, will impose discipline on the states of the continent?
You know, Kwame Nkrumah tried to do that so many years ago. That was the concept of the African Union, Organization of African Union. That's right. You see, where we believe that we should have adopted the American concept, where there's the whole of Africa comes together, and then maybe like a federal state or whatever, we then elect a president for Africa and come to. Probably that will solve the problem. But we've got a long way to go. If you are listening to him, Kwame Nkrumah was so many years ahead of all his peers and all of us. Now looking back, right, even we cannot even sustain the AU, because who are the leaders there who have got the foresight? You look around them, you need somebody with a vision, somebody who believes that, look, we should see some of our powers and make sure that we are able to. Without that, I mean, once you've got people with different ideas and different concepts and different beliefs, it will take a long time to happen. But Asia is 50 years old now. Tomorrow, Saturday is 50 years old. what are the achievements? Do you have an AU passport? No, we all have a different passport. Within the continent, if I'm going to South Africa, I need a visa. And I ask myself, why? I'm going to Tunisia, I need a visa. Why? This is supposed to be on the African continent, right? They have not been able to eliminate that. And that's the first principle, the free movement of people. I should be able to get up today and say, I'm going to, Nigeria has tried because, ECOWAS have tried because we believe that, well, we are very close. We've gone back. The wire continent, a place that I started, I find it very, very sad that I go to South Africa and I'm asked to put a visa, you know. And
could you reflect a little bit about what's going on right now in Ghana? And is this good for democracy or bad for democracy?
You see, I feel that
people describe the situation, what's going on right now.
Yeah, well, now an election was conducted on the 7th of December. My party won majority of parliamentary seats with 146. The parliament is made up of 175 seats. We've got 140 of that, which we are absolute majority. Our president won by 50.9%. And for the first time in our system, we use something called biometric registration, right? Which means that you have a card, you go and you're identified. Previously, had a system where people can vote 5, 10 times, 20 times. People were, and even that we accepted the results, right? Because it was all over the place. We accepted the report. Let me take you back a bit. We started this, our democracy, in 1992 with opaque ballot boxes, where the ballot box, you don't know what is inside. By the time it's put there, it's already stuffed with votes already. And at the end of the day, we accepted the result. 1996, we brought up a ballot box that you can see through it. And then we're using ID cards to vote with. People had photographs on them. Some had no photographs. Some had thumbprint. And then people were voting. There was multiple voting. We accepted the results. 204, the same. Then 204, 288, the same system. 2012, we decided to go to for my biometric registration. So people's bio were taken and cards were given to them. And it's a new system that you can't say is foolproof. There's nothing is perfect. We went to the system, and at the end of the day, when the elections were over, it was counted openly. Everybody saw what happened. When you go to people's homes now, they can tell you the number of votes that they got at a polling station. I'll give you an example. Because I'm the regional chairman, I superintended over the votes here. I was in charge of the votes in the Greater Accra, and I was able to beat them by 125,000 votes. I had 1.2 million votes for the party.
So your district is not in contention in the court?
No, it's part of it. Yeah. And there was a polling station where we had about 5 polling stations. Within that polling station, the NPP won 2 of the polling stations, and we won 3, right? It shows you that it shows the nature of the people. So this was an example of the broad masses of people in that area. And at the end of the voting, the ballot boxes are open, poured down, and then sorted into various parties and counted one by one. But people were privy to see all this, and it happened all over the country. During the course of the election, around 6 o'clock, that was, I think, on a Saturday, the opposition came and made an announcement that they are winning the election. And for that reason, the president should be ready to hand over power. We said nothing. At that time, about 40 or 45% of the votes had been counted. And then around 8 o'clock, their general secretary made a statement that everybody should wear white on a Sunday or the next day and go and thank the good Lord for them having won the election.
This is on the 10th of
That's right. That's December.
I was in the country.
Oh, good. They were jubilating, and we were in our counting rooms, making sure that.
Was there an agreement at that time that there would be no claim to victory before the election?
Precisely. So even that enabled the Peace Council to issue a statement that people should stop announcing results and jubilating. They should wait for the electoral commissioner. So around midnight, about about early morning, 4 a.m., I knew we had won the elections because our strongholds had then come in and we had won the election. And the Electoral Commission was supposed to declare the results in the afternoon. Lo and behold, they raised objections that figures have been changed and all manner of allegations. This was both the electoral commissioners and the Peace Council, but no, the information you are bringing is not sufficient to stop him from declaring the result. So he went ahead and declared the results.
Mr. Chairman, do you think in the overall, now that I've told you that everywhere I've gone in Africa and I've asked what do you think is the strongest democracy in Africa, they've always said Ghana.
Yeah.
Do you think the controversy that's going on now is going to affect that perception of Ghana and shape the belief in democracy on the continent?
Well, me personally, I feel that what they are doing is an academic exercise because it will not change the results. Because the good people of Ghana have voted, and they voted a government in power, a government to rule them for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think, if you had to assess right now, what is the greatest threat to democracy in Ghana and on the continent as a whole, if you had to choose one?
In Ghana, the insatiable appetite to want to come to power at all costs, when it is not due, when we are not due for that. And that is the history of our opponents. Mm-hmm. And you could see that during the election time, if we were here, there were a lot of war drums coming from them. So I believe they are the people who are rather a threat to our democracy. Mm-hmm. They should learn to accept defeat. Like we did in 2000. When we lost, we graciously handed the power to them. In 2008, they went to court to stop the elections, the last leg of the election taking place. You know, so this is the type of people we are, because in the beginning I told you, they feel they must rule. They feel they are the ruling class. And if you've got that idea in your head, then you become a threat to democracy. But if you believe that all men are equal under the guise of this world, then when there's a competition, I don't know the competition, it cannot be perfect. The only perfect person in this world is God. Apart from that, we humans are not perfect. And as we sit here, you could see that what was happening. I mean, so
do you think that after the Supreme Court rules, do you think that the country will be stronger as a result?
The country is already a strong democracy. That is why we've been able to allow them to go to court.
It will be stronger.
It will be stronger. I mean, we will be stronger. I mean, this dispensation cannot be curtailed, whether they go to court or whether. But I believe that the people of this have spoken. They have spoken with their feet. They wake up 1 a.m. to go and kill. And nobody can take their voice from them.
Okay. Continuing on what are some of the great threats to democracy, how great a threat is corruption to democracy in Africa, and specifically in Ghana?
Corruption is an age-old menace. Right. There's corruption in America. There's corruption in the United Kingdom. There's corruption over the world. These are human institutions. What you need to do is to curtail it. You do your best to put in systems that will, but you cannot say that you're going to eliminate it because of the poverty in the system, right? Because of, human beings will always want to find their way to do things. The only thing the government can do is to put in measures and to try as much as possible to enforce the systems that they put in place. If you are caught, that will be a deterrent to somebody else. But then to say you are going to wipe it out completely, it will be difficult. This has been with us from the time of Adam.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's not so much whether there is corruption in the West or not, because we have to concede there's corruption there, the dollar figures are bigger.
That's right.
So that's not the issue. The issue is because of the delicacy of democracy in Africa. Is corruption a bigger threat?
No, that's what I say. It's not a threat. It's not a threat. Corruption, I mean, that's what I said to you earlier on. This has been with us. There has been with government, there has been a lot of scandals. The only way you can curtail that is to put measures in place, right? But then corruption cannot be a threat to democracy.
Does Ghana have an anti-corruption commission?
We have, yeah. We have the Yoko, they're in charge of, and then the Shraj, yeah. When it comes up, government deals with it. You see, probably if government does not deal with it and condones it, then it becomes a threat. You understand? That's why I said once the measures are in place to deal with it, doesn't become a threat. But if the government closes and then it becomes rampant all over the place, then I'm sure somebody from the military will get up and come in and say, look, these guys, let me kick them out of the system. But for so long as there are measures and are enforceable, at least then I'm sure we can do away with it. Because somebody in the civil service probably he wants within the next 5 years to build a house. His salary is not sufficient enough for him, but because of his ambition, well, he has to cut corners. And then when you go there, you have to put something under the envelope. You cannot. The president will not be there to see it. And when you report him, he can tell you he never took any money from you. But then, if such a person is caught, or if you have a system whereby salaries and all those facilities are of equilibrium, then nobody will want to. That's right.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for your time. Anything you would like to add?
Well, I think there's hope for Africa. The future is bright. I mean, in terms of the next frontier for development is in Africa. And I hope that our brothers in the diaspora have to come home and help us with their knowledge of their little experience in democracy, their in IT. We need to develop the continent. And we can only do that with our brothers and sisters wanting to come and have a base here. And the sky is the limit.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.